What's the question?
I don't know. Yes.
Oh.
Short describe of Suzuki method.
A short description would be what Dr. Suzuki would say.
Trumpas būtų toks, ką būtų pasakęs daktaras Suzuki.
Is that it is teaching children to play a musical instrument to a very high degree, starting from a very early age, in the same way that they have learned their mother tongue.
Tai būtų tas pats atsakymas ir daktarui Suzuki, kad tai yra, kad vaikai pasiekia aukštą grojimo lygį ir tokiu pačiu būdu, kaip jie išmoksta kalbėti, kaip jie išmoksta gimtosios kalbos.
Using the same methods, which is teaching the ear.
Tai reiškia, kuomet mokama, kuomet klausoma ir girdima, lygiai tas pats pritaikoma ne tik kalbai, bet ir
starting when they're very, very small,
pradedant nuo labai mažo, labai
with the cooperation and the help of the parent,
ir padedant tėvams,
in individual lessons and group lessons,
svarbu ir individualiuose pamokose ir taip pat grupinėse pamokose.
and by training the ear by playing the recording of their pieces each day.
Mes pripratinam klausą girdėti, reiškia, kaip turi skambėti kūrinys, klausydami įrašus.
Basically,
Tai yra
that is it.
dalykas. Klausymas, girdėjimas. What is your way? What was your way to Suzuki?
To discover it,
Yes.
it was interesting. I was an American studying the cello in London,
Ponia Annette yra amerikietė, kuri studijavo violončelę Londone.
then I had to go back to America for 1 year.
Tai turėjo grįžti vienus metams atgal į Ameriką.
And my friend, another cellist, said, "Please, will you teach my students? I need to go away and study."
Jos draugė paprašė, taip pat kolegė, kad paprašė, kad mokytų jos studentus, nes pati turinti išvažiuoti kažkur.
And I said, "Yes, of course."
Na, jis sutiko.
And then he said, "Oh, they're Suzuki students."
O, pasakė.
I said, I don't know anything about this. What are you talking about?
Draugė pasakė, kad tai Suzuki studentai, bet aš nežinojau, apie ką čia eina kalba.
And he just left. And there I was with these tiny children and their mothers. And
He or she?
he.
Reiškia, jos kolega tiesiog paliko ir iškeliavo.
So I read Nurtured by Love, the book that Dr. Suzuki wrote, explaining how he made his method. And I thought, oh, thank goodness. Okay, that's the beginning. At least I understand now.
Perskaičius knygą suprato, apie ką maždaug kalba eina. Knyga tai Suzuki gyvenimo tokia biografija ir šiaip filosofijos. Tai yra auginti meilę knyga.
I understood his principle. His principle is that every child can learn if you just give them the right environment and teach them very carefully each step they need.
Perskaičius knygą šią suprato, kad tai yra pagrindinis dalykas, jeigu mes sukuriam vaikams aplinką tinkamą, tai kiekvienas vaikas gali išmokti groti.
But I didn't know what all the steps were, so I went and observed Suzuki violin teachers.
Bet nežinojo, kokie žingsniai, kaip tą nuosekliai išdėstyti. Dėl to jinai nuvyko stebėti, kaip dirba smuiko, reiškia, mokytojai, nes tuomet dar violončelė nebuvo pritaikyta.
And there were very good Suzuki violin teachers, thank goodness.
Where?
Minneapolis, St. Paul. Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Minneapolis, jis stebėjo, reiškia, labai gerus mokytojus Suzuki metodu dirbančius.
And then after 1 year, I went back to England, and I was the only one in Europe who was teaching Suzuki cello.
What year was it?
1973, 74. I went back in 74.
1973 metais jinai grįžo iš Amerikos į Londoną ir tapo pirmąją mokytoją Europoje, kuri atvežė tenai Suzuki.
That's how I started.
Tokia buvo pradžia.
But I should tell you that when I came back to England, and I was the only Suzuki cello teacher, there were Suzuki violin teachers.
They were?
Yeah, Helen.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
Yep.
Yeah. Žodžiu, pirma violončelės, reiškia, mokytoja buvo. Bet kai jinai grįžo į Londoną, tada jau buvo Helen, tai yra Suzuki smuiko mokytoja.
Helen Brunner. And some other teachers. She had come back from America having met, heard the Suzuki children play and just, it changed her life. So she came back to England and started teaching Suzuki violin, again, very much by herself. And then she had a couple of friends who said, oh, this is a good idea, And then I arrived, and she said, oh, great, so we have Suzuki cello. So we were all learning together.
Su savo kolegomis, kurie buvo Anglijoje, jie tiesiog apsijungė ir matydami prasmę šitam būtent metode, jie nutarė, kad gali kažką tai kartu veikti ir mokinti Suzuki metodą.
But we were very fortunate because Dr. Suzuki was coming to England. He would come at least once every year. Would come to
Nuo to
England.
laiko pats Suzuki atvažiuodavo į Angliją bent kartą metuose.
And so he would teach us. He would teach our students. It was wonderful.
Mokytų mokytojus, mokytų mokinius.
Very fortunate, very fortunate. Yeah.
Labai to pasisekė, labai lygiai buvo.
It was a unique experience. A unique experience.
Patirtis.
So that's how I started.
Tai buvo pradžia. About your meeting with Dr. Suzuki.
Well, I met him many times. You mean
Impressions.
right? He was almost always smiling. He was almost always smiling.
Beveik visą laiką šypsojo.
If he wasn't smiling, he was thinking.
Jeigu nesišypsojęs, tuo metu labai intensyviai mąstydavo.
That was it. He was either smiling or he was thinking. Those were his two expressions. And he never gave up. He never quit. No matter what he was, no matter who he was working, whatever he was doing, he would just keep going and going and going and going, trying something else, until he would get that sound that he wanted.
Niekuomet nenuleisdavo rankų, kol nepasiekdavo kažkokio tai mokant vaikus, kažkokios tai garso kokybės. Jis ieškodavo naujų būdų, jeigu nesisekdavo ir tol nenurimdavo, kol neatrasdavo.
To Dr. Suzuki, no child ever did anything wrong. If there was anything wrong in the playing, anything, it was always the teacher's fault. And he was right. But we all knew that.
Dr. Suzuki pats sakė, kad jis žinojo, kad jeigu kas nors nesiseka mokiniui, tai čia yra ne mokinio klaidos, bet netinkamas mokytojo darbas. Ir jisai buvo teisus.
He was, I will say, that's a funny way to put it, but he was only happy when he was teaching or listening to music or playing music. He just couldn't just sit down and like this, He was looking always, where's someone I can teach someone, Where's some music happening? Where's something happening?
Nuolatos ieškodavo, jis ramiai tik muzikos klausyti negalėdavo, jis būtinai turėdavo surasti kažkokį tai mokinį, ir jį mokyti. Net ir atostogų metu mokykloje jisai gaudydavo mokinius, kurie nuo jos slėpdavosi ir jis norėdavo juos mokyti.
He traveled all over the world, of course, and I was in many places with him all over the world.
Suzuki apkeliavo daugelį pasaulio šalių ir Annette taip pat buvo kartu su juo.
Many places. He was not interested in sightseeing. He did not want to go and see the sights of the place. He almost didn't even know where he was in terms of that.
Nebuvo įdomu kažkoks tai miesto, kažkokios tai vietos, kurias galima žiūrėti, turistų lankomas, sakysim, bet tik tai, that's only...
Where are the children?
Bet kur yra vaikai?
Where are the children? Where are the lessons? Where's the music? Where are they? He walked around with his cigarette, his violin. Where are they? That's why he did the traveling, so he could be with those children and those parents and those teachers.
Taip, jisai būtent keliaudamas, jo kelionių tikslas ir buvo vaikai, tėvai ir mokytojai, kurie mokosi, kurie moko muzikos.
Because when he was in Japan, of course, he had built the school in Matsumoto, and every day, I mean, he died. He was 100 years old when he died, and he was working up until the very right close to the end. He just didn't want to stop.
Tai jisai mokė Japonijoje, sukūręs tą metodą, kūręs institutą, tai Matsumoto mieste. Jis gyveno ilgą gyvenimą ir gyveno beveik 100 metų.
So he would work with teachers in the morning. All the teachers who were training, wanting to learn more and more and more.
Rytais jis dirbdavo su mokytojais.
And then, of course, he had students. And then he'd have other, I mean, he was just working all the time.
Ja, jisai beveik visą laiką iki pat savo mirties, visą laiką jisai dirbdavo.
And he was always trying to improve the quality of teaching children, because he believed that if the children are happy, they will grow up to be happy adults, and then we'll have a happy world, He believed that firmly.
Pagerinti būdą, kaip geriau išmokyti vaikus, nes kai išmokyti vaikai, jie sukuria aplinką laimingai ir suaugusiems, taip pat ir visiems kitiems.
So the method is based on the philosophy, and the philosophy is the method. You cannot separate them.
Metodas yra grindžiamas Suzuki filosofija ir tai yra neatskiriama dalis. Negalima atskirti vien metodo ir filosofijos, nes tai eina kartu.
So it's a huge responsibility for teachers.
Tai didžiulė atsakomybė mokytojams.
We need to constantly be improving our ways of teaching.
Pastoviai turime ieškoti, kaip pagerinti mokymo kelius.
And always remembering that the basis is that every child can do it really well.
O pagrindas, kuo remiasi šitas metodas, tai tikėjimas, kad kiekvienas vaikas gali tai padaryti, išmokti, o šiuo atveju labai gerai.
I mean, really play beautifully. Not just play, oh, it's fun, but really play beautifully. And love the sound that they're making. I mean, he said what other people have said before and since. He believed that our music was the voice of our soul. And everybody has a soul, then everybody has a voice, if we give them that voice.
Sakė tai, muzika tai yra žmogaus sielos balsas. Ir jeigu mes galim suteikti tą balsą, tai reikia daryti.
So, in respect of that, we must teach each child to play as beautifully as they can, which means we must be very good teachers and players.
Mokytojai turi būti atsakingi, kadangi tiki tuo, nes tiek mokytojai, tiek muzikantai, jie turi siekti to ir turi būti labai geri ir kelti savo aukštus reikalavimus.
I think to be a really good Suzuki teacher, you have to have certain qualities to begin with. You can't, I think you have to have some of those qualities already before you even begin.
Netgi prieš pradedant mokyti muzikos, tu jau turi kažkokias savybes turėti išsiugdęs, tam, kad galėtum pradėti domėtis, priimti kažką tai. To, kas yra teigiama Suzuki metode.
Suzuki teachers' qualities are, gosh, let's see, qualities would be, first of all, that they believe that every single child can learn to be, develop to be a really fine musician. And understand that they have to work and continue to improve themselves as a player and as a teacher. So the best Suzuki teachers are not teaching because they want praise. They're teaching because they believe that they're actually making the world a better place. Which means that they need to be very disciplined. They need to be disciplined and they need to believe in the children so that they treat them with respect and seek the best that child can do. Suzuki teachers need to be cooperative. They need to know how and enjoy working together. It's not a solitary thing. It's a community.
How important is teaching music for kids?
I think it's one of the most important things we can possibly give to them. You know, it's been around, music has been around before the written word. Music has been around before the wheel. Music has been with us always, human beings. It's one of our deepest needs, and it is therefore a real, true voice of who we are. So,
muzika yra tikrasis balsas to, kas mes esame. Ir tai čia yra pats svarbiausias dalykas, kalbant apie reikšmę, mokymo svarbą. Jis geriausiai išreiškia tai, kas mes esame.
I don't think it could be more important. Food, love, music.
Why do you play cello?
Well, I played the cello because my mother played the cello and I fell in love with the sound. I think the sound of the cello is very much like the human voice.
Aš manau, kad violončelės balsas yra labai artimas žmogaus balsui.
And I know lots of children who just fell in love with the sound of the cello. They had a choice: violin, cello, piano.
Ir daug kas tiesiog įsimyli būtent tą balsą, taip kaip mūsų viešnia, reiškia jos mama grojo violončelę, tai likti ir nebuvo sunku pasirinkti, bet tiesiog pasirinko violončelę, nors ir buvo kitų galimybių.
So I suppose it's very like the human voice.
Tiesiog yra labai panašu į
Very like the human voice, but you know, so violins, I suppose, are like the sopranos, and I don't know.
Galima palyginti su labai aukštais moteriškais balsais, bet tai gal tai ne visuomet tai yra taip jau.
But there are people who are not musicians, and they just love the sound of the cello. There's something about it that goes in.
Tiesiog net daugybė žmonių ne muzikantų jaučia, kad violončelė tai turi kažką tokio išskirtinio, kas pasiekia mus labai betarpiškai.
That's all I know.
Question: if parents would ask you how to choose the instrument for your child, for our child.
Right. well, it depends. I mean, if there's only one good teacher,
Priklauso nuo to, jeigu yra tik vienas geras mokytojas.
Whatever instrument that is, go to that. Take that instrument.
Skirtama koks instrumentas, bet reikia rinktis mokytoją.
You have a child who's good, you have a parent who's that good, then all you need is a really good teacher, whatever instrument it is.
Nėra svarbu, koks instrumentas. Mokytojas yra svarbu.
Sometimes they say, well, I don't know. And I say, well, take them. Take your child. Go and listen to some violin group lessons. Go and listen to some, come to cello group lessons. They usually choose cello. When they go around and they ask. But then there are other children, you know, who just, no, they want to play the violin.
Atsiranda ir pasiūloma vaikams pasiklausyti pamokų, kaip smuiko pamokų, violončelės pamokų. Taip nebūna, kad visi ima ir violončelę renkasi. Taip, aišku, kad patinka vaikam ir smuikas ir kiti instrumentai.
And then, you know, there are other considerations. If you have two children in the family, you have, say, a boy who absolutely loves the cello.
Šeimoje yra du vaikai, vienas, kurių vienam labai patinka violončelė.
And he moves very slowly. It takes a long time for him to learn something new.
Ir jis mokosi labai labai lėtai.
And but he loves his cello so much.
Bet labai myli savo instrumentą, violončelę.
Now he has a younger sister who is like that.
Ir jis turi jaunesnę sesutę, kuriai viskas gaunasi labai greitai.
So her mother and I, her mother, and I decided, no way, we will teach Chiara the violin. Give Chiara the violin.
Dėl to nusprendėm, kad sesutė geriau mokintis smuiku. O broliukas tegu savo tempu ramiai mokosi ten taip lėtai, kaip nekiltų kažkokių tai.
So there are many reasons, different reasons. I think if you have a good parent, you have a good teacher, those are the most important things. The child is already...
Gerus tėvus ir gerus mokytojus, tai svarbiausius dalykus, kurie yra norint išmokti groti. What did you learn from your students?
What do I learn from my students? Everything.
Viską išmokau.
No, I mean, teaching, if you're a good teacher, you're learning all the time.
Jeigu manai, kad esi geras mokytojas, tai žinai, kad mokytis reikia visą laiką.
And the people who teach you more than anybody are your students. The people who teach you the most are your students.
Taip, žmonės, kurie daugiausia ko nors mokytojus išmoko, tai ir yra mokiniai.
They will teach you if you're doing it well. They will teach you if you are not doing it well.
Jie moko visais atvejais, ar tu teisingai ką nors darai, ar tu neteisingai.
If you're explaining it well, if you're not explaining it well.
Klausoma nuo to, ar tu tinkamai paaiškini, ar ne visai tinkamai.
They teach you how to communicate.
Jie mokina mus bendrauti su mokiniai.
They teach you how to love. They teach you gratification. I mean, just when you hear them play, I mean, it's so wonderful. They teach us everything. And they teach us what a huge responsibility it is because they believe us. That's a lot.
Would you like to give for your students? What do you want to teach them?
I want to teach them how to. I'm trying to think. I know what it is. I'm just trying to think of how to say it. how to believe in themselves and their music, and to be able to produce their music. So in other words, my job is enabling them to sing what is already inside of them. That's what it is.
Mano darbas yra tas, kad aš privalau atverti tai, muzikos pagalba atverti tai, ką jau žmonės turi savyje.
Yeah, that's my biggest job. That's where I have to continue to improve.
Todėl aš nuolat turiu ieškoti, kaip pagerinti savo darbą, ieškoti būdų tokių. So what is the biggest joy for you? What gives biggest joy for you?
When they're happy with themselves and their music. When they're happy, when they're playing, when I, yeah, it's just, that's the best.
Tiesiog, tai matau, kai vaikai groja ir džiaugiasi to, ką jie daro. Tai yra didžiausias dalykas. Ką galima duoti. How do you see the future of Suzuki methods in Lithuania and in Europe as well?
Well, I see it growing. I just see it growing exponentially. I mean, I'm not that old, and I was the first and only one in all of Europe doing this. Now, look at all the countries that have it. It grows and grows and grows, and I've been all over the world with this. I've been, Australia, it's huge there. I was in Egypt for 4 years. It's happening in Egypt, it's happening in South Africa, it's happening all over the world, really.
Neišvengiamai plėsis ir auksta Suzuki metodas tiek Lietuvoje, tiek visur kitur, nes jeigu Annette Costanzi buvo pirmoji, kuri Europoje buvo violončelės mokytojas, tada niekur nebuvo, tai nėra dar tokia sena, o jau štai visose šalyse, kiek sunkiau išvardinti būtų, kurių nėra turbūt, bet tai vis tiek neišvengiamai plečiasi ir tiesiog viskas savo vaga teka.
Put your feet together. Okay, see you next time.